rolling.
We are rolling. All right. Well, it's a pleasure to meet with you today. Hi, I'm Lauren Kohler. I'm here representing the Rio Nacional Football Club.
Alex Corcoran, representing Diego Primadonna.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started then. So we're here to discuss terms for a possible contract for this season for Diego to come rejoin us here at Rio Nacional, which is great. So if I could, though, start with a couple of questions, because we were obviously a little surprised but pleased to have Mr. Primadonna contact us about his interest in rejoining the club. What's he looking to do here? Why is he looking to come back to Rio?
He made his name there. He has a good relationship with the club. He enjoyed his time being there, and he'd like to kind of revive his career in the later stages of it there, and hopefully in that way kind of revive the club as well.
All right, well, that's great. It sounds like he's interested in some of the same things we are then. We definitely appreciated his earlier time with us. He was definitely a fan favorite, and it was some good times for the club. So couple of questions, though, about his status. I know that he experienced an injury a few years back and hasn't been playing as a starter since then. So what's his current status? Is he ready to come back and play on the starting team, or are there concerns with that still?
He's ready to be a starter. He realizes that the knee injury is a setback, but with knee injuries today, they aren't as big of a problem as they used to be. He's come back. His knee is strong. It's holding up, and he feels like he's in the best physical condition he's been in his life.
All right. Well, that's certainly encouraging. So, as far as coming back to the team, what's Mr. Primadonna's goal here in terms of, where he's looking to go in the future with the team? Is he looking to, stay kind of long term? What's kind of his thinking as far as salary and things like that?
He'd like to come back to the team as a starter right away. He knows that he's in the later stages of his career, so a very long-term deal would not be ideal. I think he's kind of looking to establish himself early, so maybe it might be best to maybe not sign a long-term deal right away and let him prove himself, if you will. But he would like to come back as a starter. As far as salary, he realizes that he is an older player. There is some concerns, but he feels that with his namesake, with the kind of revenue that he can generate for the club, with the interest he can generate in the fans, he feels like he should be fairly compensated for those sort of factors.
Okay, so with that, of course, we certainly agree that we want to fairly compensate him for what he brings to the team, both in terms of his performance and in terms of kind of the fan interest. I mean, definitely we're hoping to, kind of capitalize on some of the fan interest that we might be able to generate if we are able to say, hey, we're bringing Diego Primadonna back to Rio. We definitely know that there are still plenty of fans who will find that to be a really exciting thing for the team. So that's a definite plus. I know we do have some comparables in terms of the salary. I understand last year he was with Sao Paulo as a reserve player, making about $125,000 a year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, in terms of that, obviously, the kind of the league standard has been to play starting players for about double the price of a reserve player. And it seems like that would be about in line. I know last time that he was with Rio Nacional, we were paying him somewhat of a premium over the average starting player salary. Of course, we do want to compensate him fairly, but of course at that point we were talking about, him at the very height of his career and popularity. So in terms of the current salary basis, we'd be looking probably something that's not quite that much of a premium. I think we were paying him nearly 60% over the premium, over the average starting player at that point, which, at this point, the team really doesn't feel would be necessarily appropriate given the current conditions and all of that. But if we're looking at paying roughly double what a reserve player would make, I think that we would certainly be comfortable looking at a number around that 250,000 mark, about double what he was making last season, and bringing him in as a starting player, assuming that, of course, his knee holds up.
Mm-hmm. When you say assuming that his knee holds up, is that subject to some sort of physical that he would have to undergo with the team prior to signing it?
Well, we would certainly want the trainers, obviously, and the team to evaluate that. I mean, we certainly do believe that he feels that he's ready to come back, but of course we kind of want to verify that, with our doctors, and just to make sure that he is in good condition. We obviously want him in good condition for our purposes, and we also don't want, him to be re-aggravating an injury or anything like that. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't want that either. So, certainly we would want to look at having him medically evaluated and just making sure that, he would comply with what the trainers ask him to do throughout the season, as we would ask any player, just to make sure that he stays in good shape, both for us and for him. But that's kind of where we stand on it. We're certainly willing to give him a chance to come back and prove himself, absolutely. Bring back some of that popularity, that flair that he had, that he brought to the team back in the day. So, does that sound like something that would be reasonable for Mr. Primadonna, or?
I believe it does. The 250K, we know that the average or not really the average, but the amount paid to top players right now is around 400K. So while 200K is definitely a lot more than he's been making, he's still kind of falling off of that top player tier, and we were wondering if there might be a way where we can structure some sort of incentive schedule, maybe that starts at a base around where the club is comfortable playing him, and if attendance does go up by a certain percentage and the revenues generated by the team goes up and they aren't relegated, because I know you guys are on the verge of being relegated to the B League, which would be a tragedy for the team.
Right, absolutely. We certainly do want to avoid that this season. So.
Perhaps we could work out some sort of payment plan where the club takes a low-risk kind of base pay for Diego, but depending on how he helps the team win, if he gets the team into the playoffs or gets the revenues up, gets corporate sponsors to come back, perhaps there could be some opportunities for him to kind of increase the amount he's making by the end of the season.
Okay, and that is something that we kind of had as a possibility, depending on how this negotiation went in terms of what he was looking for. We would certainly be agreeable to coming up with some kind of an incentive. Like we both mentioned, kind of the goal is, to bring him back. We would love to have that, bring some more fans in. Unfortunately, having a couple of bad seasons, that obviously does affect the ticket sales somewhat. So definitely having him come back and really bringing the fans in would be great for us. Looking at where we are right now, something that we had kind of thought about, it sounds like something maybe that might be on your radar as well, would be perhaps to share a portion of the ticket sales for the team. Basically, we would be looking at something that we would be willing to offer, would be to go ahead and give him a percentage of 10% of ticket sales over 80% of our capacity. Now, back when he was, playing with the team before, we were averaging, over 95% capacity, and if we get back to those numbers, that would be great. Mm-hmm. Based on our stadium capacity, average tickets, what that would do basically, if we were to go with that structure, would actually give him the opportunity, if he is able to kind of get out there. Of course, we'll put the team's PR behind him, kind of drum up the interest and hopefully drive the fans to the stadium. Would be an opportunity for him to make as much as an additional $87,500 over the course of the season.
Would that be 100%, or is that at the 95%?
That would be if the stadium is at 100% capacity based on our 50-game season, 25 games home. Mm-hmm. So it'd be the 25 home games. And it would be basically just the 10% of any ticket sales over. Of course, that's based on our average ticket sales. So, if we end up selling some more of the high price seats, that number could go up a little bit. But that's, again, kind of the average that could be in addition to that. So if we were looking at a $250,000 salary, as I had mentioned, you'd be looking at an additional $87,500 on top of that. So we'd be looking at about $337,500 would be kind of the maximum there. You did also mention sort of a possible bonus for playoffs, and I think that is certainly something that we could look at there. Looking at this, I would say we could probably say another $15,000 conditional bonus if the team makes the playoffs.
I think that's a perfect number. We did want to make sure, we know that there were some kind of rumblings about Bravo's being put on the injury list, and we wanted to kind of gain some clarity around that situation and whether Diego coming back as a starter is more of a temporary solution for him until Bravo is back from his injury or solves his contract dispute, or if there was some way that they could play together, because one of Diego's main concerns is that he remains a starter on the team, and he feels like playing on the field with those other players, Bravo, the other young players, might be the best opportunity for him to kind of use his experience to get some of those more experienced players up to the same level of play that he was at in his prime.
Absolutely, and certainly bringing in some veteran presence on the team is a big plus for us as well. With Alfonso Bravo, obviously he has unfortunately experienced an injury. At this point he is on the short-term injury list. However, of course, this needs to remain confidential within our negotiation. At this point, doctors are doing what they can to help him rehabilitate that, but it does look like he may be doubtful for the season going forward, and we're not sure how long after that or anything like that. Obviously, our medical teams are working with him, and we're making sure that he gets the best care that he can. But at this point, bringing Diego back, we are looking at that most likely as a solution for at least this entire season. And obviously after that, depending on how things go, we'd like to keep him on. We do have quite a number of younger players who are up and coming and obviously aren't quite at that star level yet, but have a lot of promise. We're looking at a bright future for the team, and certainly bringing him in with his skill level, an experience in the league as a top player would be a big bonus for us. So we absolutely would be looking at kind of having him there to, maybe act as a bit of a mentor in the league for some of the younger players that we have coming up.
So is there some way, I know you said that Bravo's doubtful for the season, is there some way we can guarantee that Diego, assuming that he plays at the level that the team expects of him, can ensure his starting spot even if Bravo does come back, and there's some way that they can play together?
I would have to check at this point. That would be kind of a decision for the managers and things like that. But I think at this point that we would likely be able to include that guarantee for you. It would be something that I would need to make sure of and all of that.
The coaches are a big say in that. So.
Exactly. But as far as looking forward to it, I would say that that's likely something that we would be able to guarantee.
I think just basically Diego wants the chance to prove himself right off the bat as a starter, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And we would certainly be looking at starting him. Bravo is definitely out for the near term future. So we certainly would be giving Diego his chance, to get out there and really show that, he's back, what he can do, and, that he's still the player that we all remember him from several seasons ago with us.
Definitely. So, just for me to kind of wrap my head around this, I know you've been writing it down. It would be a $250K base, 10% of the ticket sales over 80% capacity, and an additional $15,000 for if the team reaches the playoffs.
If the team reaches the playoffs.
And this is a 1-year deal.
This would be a 1-year deal, but Obviously, if we're looking at higher ticket sales, the team having a much better season, then certainly we would be looking very positively at re-signing Mr. Primadonna, assuming that he still wants to play with the team next season.
Well, I think that this works for us as far as a deal goes.
All right, great. Well, then I think that we would need to then write up the terms that we've agreed upon here. We'll have to, of course, I'll have to go back to the team and just get the official stamp of approval on that, and we'll discuss that guarantee as far as keeping the starter status, even if Bravo does come back. But like I said, I don't think that we'll have too much of a problem with that. So if Mr. Primadonna is all right with those terms, check it with him, then I think that we've got ourselves a deal.
I think so as well.
All right, excellent. Well, wonderful working with you today.
You too.
All right. You're gonna stop this thing? Does it need to record us writing up the terms? I don't know.